everyone, Alex Donne here, and I am back! Ish. I'm here, I'm making a video for the first time in quite some time. I have been on a hiatus since like officially January, though I did sneak a nice little video in there in February. I just felt compelled to make a video about publishing scams, you know. When the need calls, you have to make a video, but otherwise I have just really needed a break. I talked all about it in my January update, and you know, I'm on the other side of some major things that I needed to get done that I talked about in that video. So this is a I'm back kind of video. I'm gonna fill you in on what I have been up to within reason, talk a little bit about what to expect going forward-ish. I mean, it's the same as I said in January. I need to pull back on my posting schedule. I was doing every single week, and prior to that, I was doing 3 times a week. And I'm going to make videos less frequently, but try to make the ones that I post really high quality, like invest my time in some longer form video projects that have been kind of on my to-do list for a long time that I was putting off, plus some of your regularly expected content, vlogging, reading wrap-ups, you know, topics that come to mind or that people specifically request. But generally speaking, yeah, I needed that break. Short recap, as part of a coping mechanism for grieving my mother who died in 2019, among other things, among many other things, but I threw myself into work and into productivity. It is what I needed at the time. It is still something that I gravitate toward. Like, it's not like I've stopped juggling balls and working on projects, but I preferred to run a mentorship program, be really on this YouTube channel, write books, then deal with IRL stuff that was really, my anxiety spiked real bad. And I am happy to say I took the break and I did what I said I would do, and I sold my mom's condo. This was something that was just hanging over me for 2.5 years. It's done. I did all the hard stuff. I mean, I did it with a lot of help. Did not do it in a vacuum or by myself, but that part of the hard part is over. The kind of finding a real estate agent, putting it on the market, selling it, actually doing all of that paperwork. And trust me, there were some really stressful blips within that, but I'm done. Closing is done. The condo is sold. I have one last piece, which is technically the hardest piece, which I do still have to go to Georgia to clean it out, have an understanding with the person who bought it. There's a grace period to clear out the last of my mother's belongings, which, yes, that's like the emotionally hard part. Actually selling it was the logistically hard part, the part that my brain was going like, that sounds like a lot of paperwork. You sure you don't want to write another book? To that end, I have not written a word of fiction since November. 5 months, more than 5 months, almost 6 months. If I make it to May, which I won't, because I'm gonna start writing very, very soon. That's the thing, it's like, you don't go a long time without writing, and you simultaneously start to question whether you can write anything ever again, but you also miss it. And like, I'm at the point where I've written enough books that I obviously know that I can write another book, and I'm missing it. And that's great creative energy. That's creative energy we love. So I'm gearing up to write again. Really nice 5-month break. I had a thing with the book that I was working on in November where I hit a roadblock and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. I figured it out in March. It took me 4 months to figure out how to fix something that, of course, in hindsight seems very simple. But that's good. It means that I can power through on that book. I also have further developed my adult projects, so that book is my YA project, and I feel really good in particular about one of them. Okay, so I lied, whoops. I did some writing in the last 5 months, but I didn't do real writing. Like, I didn't like serious forward momentum writing in the last 5 months. I did do what I call a voice test for one of my adult projects, because I do get antsy where it's like, oh, I want to be productive, but you're dealing with your real life stuff. So I played around a bit with one of the POVs because it's going to be multi-POV, for this adult thriller, and just kind of playing with what my adult voice sounds like, and it sounds pretty different from my YA voice, which is the point. And it was really fun writing those pages. They're really intense and like like bitter, like meaning I can do things with character voice in adult because, well, someone who's pushing 40 has a very different set of thoughts and feelings and views on the world than someone who's 17. So it's just really fun to write someone who has essentially lived long enough to have regrets, who has lived long enough both to expand their thinking, but also to narrow their thinking, because both things happen as you age, depending on kind of how you age. And I'm also just excited. I haven't done the voice test for the second POV character, but she's been percolating in my mind, and I'm excited to do an exploration of grief. Yeah, I'm gonna tap that well again, you know, still in it, but from an adult perspective. And I am an adult, and my perspective on it is quite grown up. I did transposing of my experiences onto my teen character, of course, for Pretty Dead Queens, and I'm really happy. I've had a few people read it who lost parents as teenagers who said that it felt very real and authentic to them. There are some aspects of grief that are simply universal, but you have to do transposing when they're 17 years old. You can't be quite as nihilistic. So I'm just excited to kind of try new things, new challenges. And I think in that January video, I went over goals, and that's one of my goals. I want to challenge myself this year to write something really different and to grow as a writer. So I know to you, it feels like I've been gone for forever, but for me, it feels like a blink. But I did what I needed to do. I focused the entirety of the first quarter on my personal life and on ticking things off of a list. Now, just for fun, I thought I would share some of like the things that I also had some new things added to the list, and I just think it'd be fun to tell you some of the stuff that I was dealing with during this time away. My computer crashed on the same day that my cat, Leo, my himbo, as I now call him, my himbo cat, because he's very cute. He's a beautiful boy. Not smart. He swallowed 2 feet of yarn. I've had cats for a very long time. I've had yarn in my house many times. The fun teaser is I bought that yarn for a YouTube channel related reason, not even for knitting. That little beautiful himbo cat swallowed 2 feet of yarn, and so I had a delightful 24 period of my life in March, and it did derail my coming back to the channel a little longer, because it's like, you know, you build up the stress levels and then you have to like dissipate, where my desktop, dead, just dead. And my cat was vomiting nonstop all night. I had a vet appointment scheduled for the morning to take him in for a surgery consult, and the clouds parted and that cat vomited up 2 feet of yarn 20 minutes before I was leaving to take him to the vet. So I avoided emergency surgery for my cat, and I was able to get my desktop fixed, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to recover any of that data. Now, I know what you're thinking. Do you back up your stuff? I do now. I've always backed up my writing, so I didn't lose anything on the writing front, except for, it's always that one thing that you didn't back up that you're like, but then you have to be grateful that you didn't lose everything. I didn't lose everything. I lost one chapter, and that sounds really, really dumb. It's just a chapter. But like, there's this part of my brain that's like, well, now I don't want to rewrite it because it already existed. It's like the one, I just basically hadn't backed up the most latest version of my Scrivener file, which meant I also did lose some more recent notes, like that breakthrough that I had on plotting. Thank God I told a friend about it in a chat window, so some of it's written down, but I'm hoping I can recover some of that. Plus, you know, grown-up stuff like tax documentation. I did my taxes. Every year I procrastinate. This year, I actually, despite the computer crashing, which crashed in the middle of closing on the condo stuff, March was just very, very stressful. I got through it though. I did manage to get my taxes done early. Yay! Everyone like just clap for me. On top of that, we've had some fires at work. Day job has kept on day jobbing this whole time. I put together my street team for Pretty Dead Queens. That is chugging along. They have arcs right now. People are reading. I'm in that weird nebulous interim. So Pretty Dead Queens comes out October 4th, 2022. And I'm in that period where my book is Schrodinger's book. Pretty Dead Queens is Schrodinger's book. People are either gonna love it or hate it, and I don't know which. And I'm in that period of like, well, maybe it's garbage. Maybe I utterly failed and everyone's gonna hate it, and you're just like bracing yourself. So I'm gonna have to live in that anticipation for some time, because waiting for kind of early critical consensus to come rolling in. Other things, author mentor match. We had another round of author mentor match, and I told myself, I mean, I wasn't officially a mentor, and I told myself, okay, if I saw an adult thriller, I was only gonna make an exception for an adult thriller. That was the one, like my dream adult thriller to mentor. Only in those circumstances would I mentor. And you know, I manifested that into being. So I am also mentoring again. I'm really, really excited. I absolutely adore my new mentee. It's one of my favorite thriller tropes with really strong writing. We had like a long call about my edit letter, and she is getting started on her revision very, very soon. So I'm really excited to be working on that. And then my R8 mentee, Olivia, not only got an agent, but got a book deal. So 2023, look for People to Follow by Olivia Worley, your next can't put down YA thriller. I love Olivia. It's been a delight working on this. I actually mentored her on this as a whip. And so she drafted and revised it over the last year in 2021 without querying, and now her book's coming out for Wednesday Books in 2023. I'm like the proudest like thriller mom, auntie, and it's just, oh, it's so cool. I've been reading a ton. Can't stop, won't stop on reading. I haven't done a reading wrap up in a while, and that's partly just because I've been on my break. It means it's like I have like this really long list of books I've read piling up, mostly nonfiction. I specifically ended up going on a mountaineering disaster kick, so I think I read 8 to 10 books on this topic. So what I'm probably gonna end up doing as I get back into the groove is do a video just about those books. There's enough of mountaineering disaster fiction for me to do a whole video on it, and then another video possibly like splitting nonfiction and fiction, but I have admittedly read a lot less fiction. Honestly, my fiction reading slump is continuing on. My TBR continues to be absolutely bonkers, specifically my thriller TBR, and like I have all of these books that I know I want to read, but every time I go to my Kindle or my Overdrive app, because I've done a couple more audiobooks for nonfiction, I'm like, but you could read something juicy about that company that fell apart because the person who ran it was cuckoo. Or, oh, but you could read that true crime thing about, you know, the darker sides of human psychology, which is so helpful for working on adult thrillers. Or you could read all about K2 and all the horrible ways that you can die there. I don't know. I keep going back to the well of nonfiction over and over again. And since I'm a mood reader, it's like, why fight it? If you want to read, you want to read, and reading is always a good thing. So there will be some reading wrap-ups coming. What does all of this mean for my writing, for the channel? I mean, this means that my break worked. I feel re-energized. I'm excited to write another book. I have this major chapter behind me, and now there's all of this stuff ahead of me in both my personal and my professional life that feels attainable again. It also helps, of course, that the world is opening up again. There's just this renewed feeling of hope in 2022 for a lot of people. I know that I'm not alone in that. Of course, you know, we still have to be cautious and thoughtful, but for the most part, I have been slowly getting back into normal things-ish within reason, and that feels really, really good. So I'm feeling energized. Within the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be drafting something. I'm really vibing on the adult. I definitely need to go back to the YA, but I'm going to wait to see if my data is definitely not recoverable. If it's definitely not recoverable, then I just have to put on my big girl writing pants and rewrite that one chapter. It's just stupid. It's a mental block where I'm like, oh, but if I recover it, maybe it's like the best chapter I've ever written. It's not. I literally know it's not. So I will go back to that when I figure out whether my data is recoverable, but I want to explore the adult further. I had another adult idea. Like, I'm really vibing on adult, honestly. I'm not gonna leave YA behind, but like my adult thriller ideas, I love how like free I can potentially be with structure and form, doing those writing challenges, but also just like writing some really awful stuff. I'm excited. So that's how I'm feeling on the writing front. And then I have been very, very serious about stepping back from social media, and that detox has been incredibly helpful. I'm here to say that if you have been on the fence about stepping back from certain aspects of social media, 100% fully endorse. I'm slightly more behind on day-to-day news and probably need to figure out a way to supplement how I get my news, because I haven't like watched news in such a long time. I would rely on Twitter. So tell me what was going on. I have almost entirely detoxed from Twitter. I don't doom scroll anymore. I really don't scroll my feed at all. If I go on my feed, I switch over to updates only for the reason that I only really go onto Twitter max 2 to 3 times a week now, and if I scroll, I tend to only allow myself a few minutes. Like, I don't do the full feed because, I mean, almost without fail, something's going on and you feel the anxiety start to spike, and I've been happier stepping back from Twitter. To compensate for this, I've tried to do a little bit more on Instagram, and that's definitely probably what I'm going to be doing going forward. I don't really scroll my Instagram feed because I get into the same doom scrolling patterns. I know that, you know, people don't think of Instagram that way, but I personally can have, there are different issues on Instagram than on Twitter, though I do hope it's better since I've dealt with some of my IRL stuff. But for a while there, doom scrolling on Instagram would just remind me of all the stuff that I had to take care of in my personal life and feel like my personal life was just like a hot mess, while everything is so beautiful and aspirational on Instagram. And even reminding myself that a lot of that isn't real. So even when you see some of my beautiful aspirational Instagrams, I mean, they're a slice of real, but everything's curated. So long story short, I'm trying to be more mindful about how I use my social media, and I'm flat out using it less, and so far that's been very, very good for me. Same thing, very selectively using TikTok. When I use TikTok too much, you know, that's hours of your life gone that you just don't know where they went and you don't get them back, and it's like, oh, should I have been doing something else? Should I be writing? I'm worried that if I get too hooked on TikTok, I will never write a book again. But I have been trying to use those 2 platforms. And then I'm back on YouTube. So I'm just going to tentatively, going forward, figure out what my new schedule looks like, what some of the new videos are. I definitely have one I have been planning for the last month. It's Meteor, which, I mean, don't get your hopes up. I'm not going to turn into like an essay channel where you're going to get really high production value of these amazing videos. But it is a topic I have been putting off for a very, very long time, a video that makes sense to do, but it requires me to really be thoughtful about my outline. I want to try, I mean, seriously, don't get your hopes up, but I do want to experiment slightly with maybe filming in different parts of my apartment. I've been spring cleaning, I forgot that part. I desperately needed to clean my apartment. You don't want to know how long I was holding on to some of the things that were in my apartment, and I've just purged a lot of stuff. I bought new rugs. It's like the little things. I bought a new bookshelf, you know. Buying a new bookshelf is always magic. It's little things. I bought a couch cover. Just like, I've been doing spring cleaning and kind of refreshing my apartment and my life. Before I leave you, and I should have front loaded with this, I'm going to be at the LA Times Festival of Books. That's one of the really cool, good things that has happened in the past couple months. I was delighted to be accepted as a panelist to an amazing event. The LA Times Festival of Books is like goal level list, and I've been to the festival before. I was also privileged to be on a panel a couple of years ago, and so I'm incredibly excited to be back at the festival because they're back in person again. They haven't done it for the last 2 years, and I'm going to be on a panel on Saturday called Secrets and Lies, a thriller panel with Jennifer Lynn Alvarez and Danielle Clayton, moderated by Kayla Kagan, and there will be multiple signing opportunities. So if you are local to Los Angeles or to Southern California and can make it to the festival on Saturday, I would love to see you. It's my first real opportunity to do a public signing in 2 years. No, more than 2 years. I did go to San Diego Comic-Con Special Edition in November, but that wasn't a public signing because, you know, you had to register for the con. But LA Times Festival of Books is totally free and open to the public. It's also almost entirely outdoors. So my panel is at 1:30 on the YA stage. There's going to be a signing right afterwards, location TBD. So the signing will be from 2:30 to 3. And then I will also be in the Mysterious Galaxy booth at 4 to 4:30 p.m. to sign books as well. Schedule is subject to change. There might be one additional signing, and if things change, I will put that down below in a pinned comment before the event, waiting for the final schedule from my publicist. But yeah, I'm so excited to be there. I will have swag to give out, which is now wonderfully organized as part of my spring cleaning process. So I just pulled it out of a container where I have all my swag now. I'm feeling so great. I've got the alternate ending for the Ivies and bookmarks. So come see me at my panel or any of the signings and get free Ivy swag. So yeah, overall, I am just looking forward to figuring stuff out with the channel, getting kind of back into the groove. I don't think it's gonna be weekly, but it'll be more frequent than the hiatus has been for sure. I'm just excited to like have a weight off of my shoulders and feel kind of mentally free again. I still have plenty of annoying adulting things to do on my checklist, don't get me wrong. It's like never ending, it just literally never ends, but I get to also focus on some of the more fun stuff, and writing books is some of the fun stuff for me. Like, you know, I grumble when I'm not doing it, like, oh, I'm glad I'm not writing a book right now. I'm playing video games. I've been playing so many video games. It's really great, but I miss it. Excited to jump back in. And what I want to hear from you guys down below in the comments, how have y'all been doing? How you been doing? And within reason, I want to know what kind of videos you might like to see me make over the next couple of months, or like pre-filmed videos, but also like lives. Like, what would you hope to see? I will kind of slowly get back into the groove and hopefully make some videos that you guys have been wanting to see. I've had so many moments of like, oh, I should be making videos right now, but then it's like, no, stay the course, real life. You're almost, the only way out is through. You're almost through, and now I'm through. So let's see what we can do going forward. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. I promise, like, you know, this is extra rambly. I'm always a little rambly, but we're going to get back to somewhat regularly scheduled programming. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and happy writing.